Okay, yes, so he's absolutely right. You've heard great stories and presentations about culture, mindset, transformations. This is all the important stuff. But I like to do things the wrong way. So I'm going to give you practices and tools, because that's the wrong way, right? So my name is Rickard Jones. I'm a CST. I've been an Agile coach primarily is my job from day to day, and I do training as a side hustle. And was a developer for 12 and a half years, Java developer, been project program manager, done change management, worked at mostly big corporations, the big ones, yes, the big evil banks, yes. So you can blame me for every Agile failure. And the reason I've done that is because I'm old. I'm old. I've been around the block. So I'm going to give you some practices for catalysing your business agility. And the reason for that is when I'm working in these sort of institutions, I often get a question of how do I do that or how do I do this? It's all very well talking about this great stuff, which is true, but how do I do it? So I'll give you some ideas and some practices and approaches to help you fill in maybe some of the blanks, yes? Yes, and this will help you improve your business agility. This person here wishes she had my one pack, yes? Keep working hard, you'll get there one day. It takes years. Right? It's incremental as well. Okay, so talking about food, what's on the menu? Right? We're going to go, what is Enterprise Agile Coaching? What do we mean by this lovely, fluffy, duffy word, yes? How do we get started doing Enterprise Agile Coaching? How do we do it, yes? Let's have a look at some enterprise planning practices, yes? Let's have a look at a couple of them. And we want to eliminate external dependencies, yes? Not internal ones, because I know you love internal ones, don't you? That's what's the keynote. And developing your enterprise agile coaching. How do we develop ourselves? How do we improve if we're doing this sort of work? Right? You want to look at that as well. What else is on the menu? Oh, yes, and who is the best person to be the Enterprise Agile Coach? I did ask ChatGPT this question quite a few months ago, and it was a fluffy, duffy answer. However, I asked it 2 days ago, and it's got the answer. So what can we learn from that? We can learn that over time, ChatGPT becomes less practical and more agile coachy, yes? That's what it's been trained on, yes? So I'm also a professional coach as well, and all of that good stuff that Mark just mentioned, I've done all of that as well, yes. So, what is it? What do we mean by Enterprise Agile Coaching? So a definition from IC Agile is the coach has a holistic view, fancy word for big, yes, view of the organization and works across boundaries to accelerate the business agility journey. So it's your job as Enterprise Agile Coach, or if you're doing this work, to help have an impact, make a difference for that enterprise business agility journey. You're not doing the work for them, they're doing it, but you're helping to accelerate that through your coaching capability. Right? According to IC Agile, this is the definition on their website. Right? So getting started, how do you get started, right? How do you know what they want? Yeah, we need to do some scoping. Yes? Sometimes they call this discovery, or maybe they do design sprints or whatever they want. It's an opportunity, though, before that, before you engage with the client, people, remember those people, yes? Want to know, learn something new about if they're the right people that we want to engage with, vice versa, two-way. So we can learn something new about this engagement, which is a fancy word for talking and working together with each other, yes? So how do you do this agile scoping? You want to scope out if this is the right approach, yes? So, working with John Barrett, who you've already heard from yesterday, we came up with a tool, yes, called Agile Scoping Tool, and the idea is that you have a desired outcome, and we're trying to center on this desired outcome, and it may change over time, and we want to work from the outside in. So we're doing initial scoping, test the waters, see where we're going. You get the slides afterwards, and everything we produce is open source, so you can rewrite it and do it 10 times better. Yes, that's the point of open source, inspect and adapt. So, after you've done some initial scoping of working out where you are, and I'm going to go into detail on this on the next slide, you then decide how you're going to do your organisational scoping. Yeah? So initial scoping is working out if we're the right people to work with, if we're going in the right direction, if it's worth the heck doing this Enterprise Agile Coaching with you. Then you actually do it with the organisational scoping. And then ongoing scoping is just being agile, iterative and incremental until we get you to your desired outcome by yourself. So initial scoping. When I'm an Enterprise Agile Coach, what I'm trying to find out is the client someone I can work with? Right? What are your tolerance levels? Yes. So, certain clients I won't work with. I won't work with arms dealers. Yes. Won't work with tobacco clients. Yes. But I will work with gambling institutions, which we often call banks. Yes. Right? Whereas John Barrett, my business partner, he doesn't like to work with these organisations so much. He's more interested in the product, real change organisations. Yeah? Whereas I've told you I do things the wrong way, so of course I work with the banks, a lot of them. Yeah? So are the outcomes the client looking for congruent with agile beliefs? Yeah? So is this someone I can work with, the relationship, and are they actually trying to be and do agile? Or are we just playing pretend agile? Yes. Problem with pretend agile is then they pay you pretend wages, and that doesn't pay the real mortgage. So is this someone who really wants to do it, or they're trying to find their way, or they're just faking it? Then, does the client have enough influence and power? How many times have been brought into an organization where they'll go, yes, we want to do it, it's great. I've just got to ask these 20 other people, get approval, and I'll see you in 3 years, and we might actually start. Right? It's too long. Or they don't have the power to see it through. Or they say something like, oh, I didn't realize you meant that. Oh, no, we can't do that. Right? So have they got the power and influence to change the system, if that's so desired? Otherwise, we could be wasting their time. So we do this on the initial scoping. We work through that together. So part of the abstract was I give you some actual tangible case studies of organizations we've used this with. Right? So we use this with IAGL, so International Airline Group's loyalty program. So that's your point system on airlines, which is British Airways, Finnair, Iberia, Japan. And after doing the initial scoping, well, this is what they brought us in with, and then I'll show you how it changed. Right? So they claim they need to increase speed and agility and are looking to engage a coach where the target outcome is an evolution of the organisation and culture to achieve a continuously evolving way of working. So this was all the buzzword speak, right? But if you look at that, there's no real tangible outcomes, really, is there? It's just buzzword speak. Right? So this is before we do the initial scoping. After we did the initial scoping with them, we created a business case, and now you'll see how the outcomes change. Right? So they want to spend more time about thinking, what's next? That doesn't sound like they're going faster now. Complete opposite of what they originally brought us in for. Data as a decision maker. The ability to respond to customer needs quickly, not then go faster, which is different. They want to be more efficient, and they want to empower people to make decisions, which is not what they originally brought us in for, ways of working, which was process. Now they want to empower people, and they want to do things differently, and they want to attract talent. Right, this was done around about the time of the pandemic, yeah. So they were in deep trouble, because if planes don't fly, then there's no point in having loyalty points. Makes no point. Then they said the need for change. Well, why bother? These are the outcomes we want. Because they're worried about disruption. They've got competition. They become irrelevant. No one's flying anymore. They lose talent. Life may continue, but it would be painful. I quite like that one, because often they say, oh, you have to have a sense of urgency. You have to be at death's door. But they realized it without being at death's door. They knew they would survive. Yeah. So where are we? There we go. So then we move from that initial scoping to outcomes of organizational scoping. Now I'll show you how we did that in a second. We've got another approach for that. So we have an engagement plan for all the colleagues. So how we're going to talk to them, how we're going to work with them with this change, a coaching plan with the agreed next steps, and something with substance that we can tell our teams. We're starting to break it down. We're starting to evolve this a bit more. And how can we measure teams how they're feeling? And the cost and time for this, the initial scoping bit, which was the outer layer, was 3 weeks, and then followed by a 130-day support package, which would be the ongoing scoping, but you get that from the initial scoping. And we moved to costs because that's the way they wanted it. They wouldn't let us present this without if we moved the costs, yes? But that's always going to be different any time. So this is what you can get out of doing that scoping, right? But progressing those outcomes, how? Yeah? Once again, this person obviously needs to have treatment to look beautiful. I do not. Right? Yes, so depends. People have different desires for the outcomes. We don't know what they are. And we get that from initial scoping, but as you see, they change from what they really want. So we came up with this tool to help us with the ongoing scoping, right? We often had this problem where coaches would say, how do I have a coaching contract? How do I have an agreement? How does it work across individuals, teams, and organizations, departments, or leadership teams, or big boss? One-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. How do I have an approach for that? Do I need different approaches? So we came up with this tool which we've iterated over with clients. I'll give you the case study next after this to show you how it used to be in the previous version. And we start top left-hand corner with a canvas, and the canvas has questions. And the idea is we're trying to really not only eke out those outcomes, but look at the strategy. What's our approach to getting those outcomes? What's the environment, the constraints that we're in? And the questions on each part of the canvas will eke those out. I'll do this with leaders. You put it on the wall or in Mural or Miro or wherever your tool is. Case study I'll show you next, we did JP Morgan with Sparks because that's their tool of choice, so it doesn't really matter. Canvas is open source, so you can change it, and you'll see how we changed it. But the big thing is once you get the outcomes, we go to strategy, which is how we're going to do it. These questions underneath things will be what will the approach, what are the boundaries, the environment. Are we using Jira? Well, that'll be yes all the time, yes. That's it when you're using a proper tool like Trello, or just pens and paper. And then we take the first outcome into the do list, and then we break it down. Now, here's the key. We got a blog on this. We haven't published it yet to give more detail. Here's the problem. What Agile coaches will do is they will have a log, or they will have a list, or they will have this to-do list of what they've done. And at the end of that to-do list, people will go, yeah, I'm not really sure what value you brought. Yeah, you wasted my time. I can't see it. I'm not feeling it. That's because they've logged the work they've done and the outcomes they've done, which may or not relate to the real outcomes. These are the outcomes of the leadership team or the teams or the individual, because you can use it at any level. And what we're tracking is, or they're tracking, is the progress on their outcomes. And in that, we may have tickets or post-it notes that show how we supported it. Yeah? So, you wanted to retain talent. We wanted to be a learning organization. We ran some basic Agile trainings for you, or we created the materials that helped you get there. You got the feedback from that. Now they seem to be slightly happier and more engaged talking to yourself in the organization. Yeah, so this lady said, how do I measure the impact of Agile coaches? You measure the impact of the outcomes they're getting and what you did to support that. And this tool will help you track that. So when the question comes, I'm not really sure of what value, they go, well, look at all the stuff in the done column, and that's all the value you got, and these are the actions we did to support it. That question actually doesn't turn up when we've used this tool. So we used that at JP Morgan. I did use it at JP Morgan with several teams as well as the leadership. The story goes like this. I think that's the middle team there. Yeah, I think this is the one that I used it with as a case study. They were a component team in a big stack of teams, not really going anywhere. Their time is being burned constantly because other teams, because they're a component team, asking them, what you're doing next, fix this. They're consulting all the time is what I identified for them when I reviewed their interactions, consulting all the time with the other teams. So I said to them, well, you said you're doing Scrum. Do you have a sprint review? And they said, yes, we have a sprint review. We go to the big sprint review with everyone else. I went, great. This is like a less adoption. We're there. I'm saved. I'm going to have an endorsement. I'm going to be the best coach ever. This is amazing, and I haven't done any work. So then I went to the sprint review, and basically it was just an update meeting. So I realized you have to pare it back. Let's take it back to basics. So I said to them, why don't you do a sprint review where you just invite the other teams? And they can review the work you've done and have input into the next work. You know, like a sprint review. And that's what happened. And I coached them on some other stuff, but that was the real major outcome for them. They reduced their consultancy meetings by 90%, which freed them up to do a lot of other work just because they congregated that simple thing. When we came to reviewing the work I'd done with them, I think it was like 6 months in total, I'm there going, I haven't done anything. You know, they haven't moved this team at all. But their feedback was, this was the best thing ever. The coaching was just what we needed. It was outcome focused. They reduced their meetings that were wasting their time by 90%, and they got a faster feedback loop going. And they did all that work. All I did was suggest, try a sprint review and invite people. They did everything else and made it all work. And we did some other stuff, but that wasn't so successful. But I thought this was not a big win, and they saw it differently because we were focused on their outcomes, and I was in support of their outcomes. Right? So that's one tool. So we've done initial scoping and ongoing scoping. You need to be careful what you plan for. Yes? Careful what you plan for. You might plan for pain. I don't understand it myself, but that's what people do. They plan for pain. And what I see at a lot of organizations is they do this big room planning, yes? Big room planning, yes? So, and this is usually based on a plan like this. So is this an agile plan? Right? They give it a fancy name, they call it roadmap. Oh, it's not a plan. It's a roadmap. Oh, well, that's okay then. Let's get going. It's a roadmap. It's a plan. We've got things to do on the left, time at the top. Yes, and the problem with this is, where can I put in my agility? Can't put it in because it's based one big assumption that nothing will change. Nothing is ever going to change, yes? Why would it change? Right? Why would it change? The source comes from Mind the Product. These are product people, not agile people, and they're saying, don't do this. The product people, yeah? Right, so you can try instead horizon roadmaps. And horizon roadmaps categorize it in your iceberg, in your layers of what we're doing in the current, right now, in the near term, in the future. So we could be doing granular areas of focus, specific scope, less flexible, and we have the specs and designs. We can get going. Yeah? And I'll show you, this is from their website, and I'll show you what they miss in a second, right? Because you might have spotted it already. Then what's in the near term? A wide area focus. It's a bit bigger, but we've got some flexibility on dates. Yeah? This is the stuff you put in. You notice it's granular, there's more of it when you're near term to current. And future, it's high level, broad scope, and we have flexible dates. By the way, I've worked on a lot of regulation, and this idea that the regulatory dates are not flexible, in my evidenced experience, and I can name specific things, is not true. You can move the dates. Yeah? But the problem with this is all of these need to have value. So don't forget value to the customer. If you're not putting value on the items, why the heck are you doing it? When I say value, I mean business value. Yes? Not as in, oh, we need to service that other team. That's not business value. Yeah? Or whoever shouted the loudest. Worst case scenario in JP Morgan, they really struggled to put value on it. So we did, who's funding it? Yeah? Who's paying for it? And we found out that certain parts of the business were paying more than others. So, for example, I found out for that particular team, equities were paying 65% of them. And then I went back to them and said, didn't you just do a sprint just for credit for 2 weeks? And they went, yeah. And I went, but equities, 65%. What happens if they found out? And they went, well, we better do a sprint for equities. Yeah? So that's not ideal, but if you can't get the value, you can start off how they're funded. So, but you can use this for higher level planning. It gives you the flexibility to drop stuff in and out. Right? So, that's how we do those plans, but when we want to bring everyone together, I have some breaking news for you. Yes. PI planning is banned forever. Can't do it, not allowed. Is it all okay? Yes? All good? No more PI planning? Banned forever. So I work with a lot of agile coaches who are so-called Enterprise Agile Coaches, and I've noticed a pattern. And the pattern is this. I will say, so we've got to bring all the teams together. You suggested PI planning. Is there anything else we can use? And a blank look goes across their faces. Huh? Because when you say, I'm taking PI planning away, they're like, you've took their teddy away. This is the only way they know how to do big room planning with multiple teams. They'll change the name. They'll slightly tweak the events and what goes on in them. But essentially, it's the same thing from SAFe. Yeah? So this gives the question of, now what? Is PI planning the only way to do big room planning with multiple teams or multi-team planning? Well, we know with less that you can do the sprint planning, right, which actually comes from Scrum with multiple teams. Yes? But there are even older ways than that. Or maybe they're not so old. We'll see. You might want to try blitz planning as an alternative. Yes? From Alistair Cockburn and the Crystal Clear method, published back in 2004, so it is a bit old, where you gather the attendees, you brainstorm the work, you lay out the work, you review the work, you estimate the work, you sort the work, you mark the earliest release and value, you identify other releases, you optimize the plan, and you capture the plan. So this is from the original book back in 2004, Blitz Planning. Now it's a bit old, estimate the work. We could do that in advance, couldn't we, in product backlog refinement. So you don't have to do everything here, but it's a 10-point way of bringing teams together and blitz planning. And there's a reason it's called blitz planning from Alistair Cockburn. Yeah? And let's look at the case study, JP Morgan. Again, they were doing these big planning events, PI planning, they called them that. It wasn't 2 days, they said it was a day. When I turned up, it was from 10 to 4 p.m. Well, if you're going to pay me for 2/3 of a day, I'm in. Yes? All right? 2/3 of a day was the reality of it, and it was all rushed and hurried, and they hated it. Yeah? So I proposed, why don't we do light planning? Yes, light planning. Which, if the other agile coaches are making up stuff and it's really PI planning, then I'll make up stuff and it's really blitz planning. So in blitz planning, and the reason it's called blitz planning is because you do it quickly. So instead of a whole day, we can do it in 90 minutes, used as a multi-team planning event, because what we're doing, and this is from the book, to find the earliest possible point at which business value, revenue, or savings can be delivered. Yeah? Just do it, the earliest point. We're not looking at, we have to deliver all this stuff. We're looking at, what's the earliest point we can get value with these multiple teams in the room together? This is an example of it, not from JP Morgan. I showed you JP Morgan one. But this is how you do it in person, and you can do it with multiple people. Earliest point, we have those discussions, individuals' interactions, we nail it, we pin it down, remember, capture it, and then we can go forward in 90 minutes. So I called this light planning, because I didn't want to disturb them too much from PI planning, and blitz was a bit too aggressive. So we did this, and this is the JP Morgan evidence of it, and it was saved them, I'm going to be clear about this, they regained 2 million in lost productivity across 500 teams, because their teams weren't all in this 1-2-day PI planning. They were in 90 minutes. Okay? Now, I want to be clear, they don't get $2 million. They regain it to spend it in somewhere else. They're not spending it on the planning meetings with all these people trapped in the meeting. So they haven't found an extra $2 million down the back of the sofa. I know banks do that, but not in this occasion. Yeah? All right? So that's what's helped them. But there was other benefits. People liked it better. Not trapped in an exhaustive meeting all day long. I can actually get 90 minutes and we're done. And it gets them more engaged, more into it. And also, because they're in multiple regions, you don't have the time difference challenge so much. Yeah? So, light planning. The point of this part of the talk is to show there's more than one way to do a practice and an approach. You don't have to use PI planning. You don't have to use sprint planning. There's multiple ways out there. Stop thinking in this mindset there's only one way to do something. That's just not true. So, do you love dependencies? You love them, don't you? Let's be honest, yeah? Yeah, you love them. Of course you do. Yeah. Right. You lot love them so much that you'll go to a keynote talk at an Agile conference on dependencies, won't you? Yeah, I think you did. You did, didn't you? Yeah. Now, this is a real dependency board from our wonderful friends from the Safe World, and this is great because they couldn't get it round, so they put it on this roll-up board, and they take it round to all the teams to make sure you knew. And what often people do is when they criticize this approach, they find one of these teams, the totalizers or the cantina band, and they go, look, everyone's dependent upon them. But I like to look at it a different way because I do things wrong, remember? And I like this team that's like 4 rows down. Yeah, they have a dependency on their next sprint, which is them, and so on and so on. So you can go right across, and they're not actually dependent on very anyone else. So they must be a bit weird in the organization because everyone else is running around being dependent upon everyone else, and they're not. They're close to a feature team. And their name in this organization is the Enigmas. Because for that organization, they probably are. Yes? Probably are an enigma. So you want to eliminate these external dependencies. And you probably know this from the less world. Because we've got our horizon roadmaps, and because it's like that, iceberg or smaller to bigger over time, we can actually reduce that from many queues down into one backlog, right? We can do that. That will reduce a lot of the dependencies and focus people on that work. We can also reduce the component teams and put them in feature teams. You've heard this before, or end-to-end teams. Or as I call them, an agile team. Yes? Right? And they are long cross-functional, cross-component, stable and long-lived. There's nothing new there. Right? There's nothing new. But you have to identify the fact that we need to move away from all of that to this. Yeah? So we have these practices, these ideas, but there's also practice on yourself, developing yourself as an enterprise coach. Yes. So one of the tools we could develop with this in the community, and I was one of the people who developed it, was the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. Sometimes this is misunderstood as only for Scrum Masters or only for Agile coaches in the team. That's not true. You can go to the website. There's loads of tools about how you can use this wheel with supporting tools to it, how you can develop yourself as a coach in general, Agile coach. But the enterprise parts are, we've got transforming, organizational change, organizational design, Agile itself as a practitioner, serving the business, got facilitating, will also include multi-team facilitation or large facilitation, advising, and leading as well. So all of it, really. All of it, yes? So you've got a tool to help you look that up and develop yourself as well. Yeah? But who is the best enterprise Agile coach, yeah? Right? I asked ChatGPT, didn't know months ago. Today it's got a good answer. Yeah? But, because it's learned. Yeah? Can you learn as fast as ChatGPT? Let's find out. So you tell me, who's the best enterprise Agile coach? Yeah? Are we done?
No, I'm just saying
you. If I'm the best Agile coach, then we're done. Let's go back to waterfall. Yeah, continuous improvement. Is there someone called? Is anyone? Can continuous improvement come forward, please? Accept your award. It's good. Yeah, continuous improvement. Well, who's the best Agile coach? Yeah? Who's the best? Yeah? Oh, well, let's answer it, right, and I'll explain why. The Scrum Master is the best enterprise Agile coach, or Agile team coach is the best. Yes? They are the best. Huh? That's what all the other Agile coaches tell you. Yeah? You never see an Agile coach come in an organization, push the Scrum Masters down. Don't worry about leadership. Leave that with me. Yeah? Problem with HR. Yes, I'll sort out your roles and responsibilities. Leave that with me. Yeah? If you go to the Scrum Guide, it will say they serve the organization. If you go into an organization, there's been some Agile coach in there, Enterprise, who's ripped that part out of the Scrum Master spec and pushed them down in the teams. Yeah? Remember IC Agile's view of what an Enterprise Agile coach was? They're holistic, they work across boundaries. Yeah? There should be no hierarchy of coaching outside the teams, as then you're working outside that boundary. So if I don't work with the teams, I'm not working with the teams. Huh? As these other coaches were never in it. So if you're never working with the teams, then how can you be working across the enterprise? The teams are in the enterprise, you know. They do the work. Huh? You have to work across, vertically, and horizontally. When I'm in an engagement at JP Morgan, they will say, yes, Rick, we need you to come over here and work with this team. Then the next day, we need you to come over here and work with HR to sort out the product management role, which they were redefining, which was really the product owner. Then the next day, you need to come over here and help facilitate this multi-team planning. Next day, you need to come over here and could you do some coaching on agile engineering practices with this department full of component teams? The client never says, oh yes, you are the leadership coach, just coach leaders. It's Enterprise Agile coaches who try and get themselves into that niche, which I wouldn't have a problem with, but then they don't bring the Scrum Masters along the journey. So what I do is when they say, come over here and talk to HR, I'll be like, just one moment. Scrum Masters, come with me. Yes? Right? And I'll lead it, and then I will pair it, and then I will be second, and they will lead it, and then I will go away and ask them what happened as they continue it. This is where you get the embedded coaching capability within an organization. Otherwise, what happens is, and it happens all the time, is they leave the organization and they can't continue it. So when I left JP Morgan, I recruited my replacement. His name's Paulo Diaz, CEC, CTC, far better coach than me. I replaced me with someone more permanent, and that is a success story because they're willing to invest in a high top-level coach, agile coach, because I've proven the path for them. Yeah? They're willing to go out to market, pay the big monies for the top person, make them permanent, give them a career at director level, which is the top level, which is equivalent to VP of product in another company for the banks. So director level, paying them the proper monies, give them the career and everything, and support them to get the job done, because I've succeeded in proving that it's worthwhile as an investment. Yeah? So, more case studies on that. Time? Yeah, more case studies on that, which you can find from the LESS website, which talk about how the Scrum Master can do that organizational change, and how the coaches, if they do come in, should work with them. So, celebration, we are done. Any more questions?
Thank you, Rickard. I love it when the speakers disagree. So we've heard maximize your dependencies, and you've heard minimalize your dependencies.
I agreed, actually.
So
I agreed. That's external versus internal.
But here is your prestigious Agile Prague Stuffed Animal of the Year.
Thank you.
And one more round of applause for Rickard. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the main event that you've been waiting for, it's lunch. And the open spaces, so you know how it works, this room and that room. Enjoy your time. We'll see you in a couple hours.
There you go. Thank you very much. Fred?
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, a bit different.
Yeah, but it's so convenient for us. The whole thing, but we are, the before was like,
I ran out of time. I've got something else I want to do, but ran out of time. Just couldn't do it.
That's why you can talk to people during the breaks.
That's right. Yes. Hello.
Hey,
It's good to see someone face to
Yeah.
face. How are you?
I'm good, and how are you?
I'm not too bad. Great to be here. It's just first conference I've been to, so I'm really
Yeah, we still got to do the last part.
I don't want to push you on it, particularly once you're
That's
at
why
a
I've been
conference,
busy.
but, yeah, I can see you being here front. That's excellent stuff. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good coming over. Yeah, it's really an announcement.
Yeah, it came across very well.
Yeah, so I was hoping to do a bit more, but unfortunately I thought it was an hour talk. Turn up, it's like half an hour.
A lot of talks here are like that. It feels like there's a lot that people are trying to
Yeah, it's
in
more
short
lightning.
space of time.
It's lightning talk. It's not.
The problem is they're also bam, 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 bam. So if you're someone like me who's just having new babies, brain's completely fogged, I get to the end of the day, I'm like, what was the beginning again? It can be a bit like that. But
Yeah, this is the conference that you come to because the speaking quality is better.
Right. Not just because it's in Prague.
I've been here loads. I've been about 3 or 4 times. I know CT conference. I don't know the conference.
No. For me, it's partially the second region.
Oh yeah, it's a nice cheap city, and as long as you're a meat eater, you should be alright. Vegetarian, you'll be in trouble.
Are you a vegetarian? No, I've got my boss is a vegan, and I'm the complete opposite, and I'm trying to sort of like keep her fueled when I can. Keep her. Cheers, yeah, we've got quite a lot from experience here. Actually.
I heard that, but I thought it was people. I was like, you can never check.
No, we've all flown over. They worked out that to come here, the big boss worked out that it was saying a third of the cost of going to Agile Cambridge.
Yeah.
So he's managed to sell it, and it's a bit of a nice reward, isn't it? Let's go for a bit of jolly, but try and learn something whilst we're there.
You're the only person who's come up then. I must not have engaged with any of the others.
Well, we're all Scrum Masters, so yeah, I don't know whether you do other courses as well at
We're doing the
Experience.
ACSM soon.
Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have my Scrum Master certification, so I can't go to it.
Do you not have the CSM?
The last time they tried to run that, I don't think I had enough people to actually get it. I had my safe Scrum Master certification years ago.
They don't do service to organisations.
Yeah. Not Scrum. No. As we talked about before, you mentioned that last time on the course.
Oh, so I mentioned Paulo
It's
Diaz.
a variation.
It's my fault that he left Experience and recruited him in.
Was he? Oh, right. Okay.
So I mentioned him, didn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, I recruited him into JP Morgan.
Oh, wow.
That's why he left. He's my replacement there, permanent.
Should bring him back. By the sounds of it.
Yeah,
But no, I seriously really appreciate you taking that time.
yeah, I need to do this, but I've just been so busy with this. And before that, I was in Agile Coaching retreat in Rhodes, which was a nice journey. That was a nice journey. I recommend that one. I don't know if they do that one again. And I did a lot of work there, so that's where I've been for the last few weeks. I haven't been in Oreo.
So you've been to, was it Vegas? And then...
No, I went to Orlando for Agile 2023. I've never been before. And then I brought the family over to Disney. And then after it's just to save money and just to tick the box, burn my bank account to see that. And then
Disney's not cheap on them.
yeah, it's burnt. And then a week back when I went to Greece for the Agile Coaching retreat. Another week back and then I've been here. I'm trying to catch up.
Does it calm down? Do you get a period where conferences kind of...
So I don't speak, I was just asked to speak. Before London. Right, so yes, I'm going to the Scrum Gathering in Amsterdam, which is cheap to fly into, the tickets are cheap. It's cheap to get into there actually. Amsterdam, because on a CST there's just part of the Scrum Alliance, and then after that I don't think I'm going anywhere until May. I go to the Scrum Gathering again.
So you can kind of concentrate on your day job a little bit.
Go back to real work, back to real work. Yeah, I've got a potential new coaching client, which is very interesting because they do software which monitors wind turbines to improve their efficiency. So I might that's had initial discussions last week.
Is that a UK based?
Yes.
Because there is so much wind power in the UK.
They're not so.
Experience. Well, when I say Experience, I joined Experience. It's a Nottingham-based conference. All my teams are based in London. It's up because there's big one division. Actually, just found out with my boss who's taking on maternity, they're thinking of changing things around, so I will actually have teams that I can see face to face, which will be very nice and a big switch.
So nothing was good. So hopefully that will come off, and then I'll be able to work with them. That's a bit different for me from working with financial services. I want to work with product type.
Yeah.
See what happens there.
It'd be interesting to actually drive a
Gabriel. Hiya, Gabriel. Pleased to meet you.
Same here.
It's good.
That's great. That was great. Yeah, it'd be interesting for you to drive along, actually, and see something physical that you're actually related to working with. And that's,
Yeah, they were the same as well. The leadership, like people in fix the team. We already know.
the problem's all with the teams, is it? Yes, of course it is.
I told you to see. The teams aren't protected enough. As soon as you open the CFD, you find out that as soon as they take their job, they do 20% rank quite fast.
That's with the division I was last in. I don't know with my new teams.
Just got to put this in my.
Yeah, sorry, Rick, I'm probably taking a bit of too much
No, you're fine.
What you described as a